Hello and welcome to Meera's Menopause podcast. Today we really do have a very special guest on. All my guests are special to me for sure because I learn so much from them. But I met this guest by chance, and I mean chance happens. I don't know whether it's chance or luck or whatever we want to call it, but we were on a panel together, and a couple of panels actually, and I just remember kind of listening and thinking, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I love what I'm hearing. I want to connect and I want to hear some more. And I think you will all enjoy this episode immensely because I really want to kind of, well, I mean, whilst a lot of my episodes don't particularly have a theme because we just kind of chat, but I really want to try and focus a little bit on myths in the industry, the things that perhaps are around and out there that we just keep getting, what can I say? You know, we just keep falling for, actually, including myself, and we can sort of do something about it. So I am going to allow my guest to introduce herself. Alice, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today and to our listeners. But please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you so much, Meera, and right back at you. So I'm Alice Smellie. I am a health journalist for national newspapers, co-author of Cracking the Menopause with Mariella Frostrup, and a co-founder and director of Menopause Mandate. So quite menopausey career-wise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, what an immense impact you have had on, I mean, so many women listening to this will not actually realize the impact that the menopause mandate has actually had on things that are happening, things that they're seeing, things that they're hearing about, the changes maybe in the workplace, changes to research, you know, the work that you, which I would love to hear a little bit more about in a minute. But that work was when I was first introduced to it and I realized what was going on and what the mandate was about. The sense of relief was, I can't actually even explain. It was just like, oh my goodness, there's somebody doing something about this. And not just for one woman, but for every woman. And it's gone across the pond as well, hasn't it? You're in the US, in America as well.
Yeah, we are. And Mariella and I wrote a US version of our book, and that came out in January this year, called Menopause is Hot.
Amazing.
But the whole, I mean, going back to your myth theme, the whole point about menopause mandate really was the kind of demythifying of menopause and pointing out that, and I think that a lot of your work is very much around this, just really sensible, factual stuff. Every woman's going to go through it and we all need to know about it, and it's really important, and that's so fundamental, I think, to what we're all working towards.
Yeah, just it's basic, isn't it? It's just such a basic thing, but it isn't so basic because it gets complicated by so many outside environmental factors. So, the thing that I suppose is I'd love to know is that writing about the menopause, because that's what the book that you've done and the work that you do. How has that changed your own experience with menopause and how women talk about women's health, or how we all talk about women's health? How has that sort of impacted it? Because it's one thing kind of talking to your friends about it, and it's one thing kind of having a chit chat in a coffee shop, but it's a whole different ballgame writing a book about it and writing articles about it, and then also doing work with the mandate. So how do you think that's kind of impacted how we talk about women's health and in your experience?
I think, to be really kind of fundamental about it, we can now say the word vagina without everyone going completely insane with horror. And I've worked for national newspapers for, 30 years. And I remember pitching features about older women or about periods, particularly toxic shock syndrome, and being told 20 years ago, that's disgusting, nobody needs to know about that kind of thing. And now, because it's become sort of common parlance, we're talking about vaginal dryness. I mean, in the big newspaper for whom I mostly write, we can talk about vaginal dryness, we can talk about vaginal estrogen, about sexual health problems. It's incredibly important. And again, about the fact that menopause is a fact of life and not something to be horrified by or repulsed by. So there's so many women and so many groups and so many books who've made a difference. I mean, I always think Mariella really started the ball rolling because she made a BBC programme called The Truth About the Menopause in 2018. And she wrote about HRT in 2015 when it was kind of nice guidance was rewritten to say, oh, we're not all going to die from it. But it's been such a groundswell of so many campaigners and women and grassroots and national things. I think the more that speak, the better it is. I don't know if you agree. The more books, the better.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Because I think that the beauty is that everybody brings their own personality and their own personal experience to the book, to whatever they write. But also equally, not everybody will be able to bust every single myth that there is out there, because again, culturally there are different myths, and and that again, seeing books being written by so many different people in different countries as well is just it is, it is wonderful. I say the thing that struck me, and the reason why I'm kind of here doing what I do, was because how many years, 8, 10 years ago, I wasn't able to talk about men. I didn't know what it was to start with, but when I did find out, I was just like, everybody needs to know about this. What's going on? And to be told by my family, not the girls and Harry, but my mum and elders, don't talk about that. We don't talk about things like this. So now to be able to, my mum-in-law, my aunt and everyone go, how's it going with the menopause thing? Oh, you were on Seek TV doing that. And I was at a wedding the other week on Saturday, a Sikh wedding in Birmingham, because Harry's Sikh. And, it's we don't, everybody, the women sit here and the men, it has changed, but our family seems to be that kind of traditional. But I suddenly became the menopause counsellor at 8 o'clock in the evening while the dance floor was full. But it was just, I just sat there and went, oh my God, I could never have had this conversation. They would never have opened up to me even 5 years ago. So you're so right. It just brings me so much joy that we are able to talk about our body parts. We're able to talk about our mental and physical health a little bit more freely than we could ever do before as women. And you're right, it isn't something, again, like I said, I had, in the past, I would have kind of male friends from couples, if they were heterosexual couples, coming to me and saying, oh, so what's this stuff you do about menopause? Like, what is that? Like, what, really, like, behind, honestly, if I was a drug dealer or something. But, now it's a lot more open. So you have done a lot to change that trajectory and open up the pathway. So thank you for that. I think that's the first thing I really do need to say is thank you on behalf of us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And actually, just going back to what you were saying about different cultures and communities, when we wrote Cracking the Menopause in 2021, we interviewed Dr. Nigat Arif, who's now written her own brilliant book called The Knowledge about female health. But when we spoke to her, she was just becoming a voice. And I don't know if she necessarily agree, and I don't know if you'd agree, but I feel that, that the work that people like her and yourself have done has also just kind of normalized female health.
Yeah, no, totally. I met Nigat, in fact, just before she started, before it kind of all kicked off for her, which is amazing. Yeah. And she actually came to the house and she did a really small little workshop with 6 of us. COVID was just opening up. And it was so amazing. And we sat and we spoke about the pressures that are upon women to conform, to change, to not talk, to do all of that. And I'm so glad that she didn't listen and carried on following her instinct. She didn't listen. I love it. No, she never does. No. She just does what she thinks is right, which is the best thing. Yeah. And it's great. I suppose as well, I mean, you do write as well a lot about things like the latest fads and products and all sorts of things. And I think there is, again, whilst on one side it is phenomenal that we're getting so much information out there, And we knew this was coming. I think those of us who've been in this for a while knew this was coming.
Yeah.
On the flip side, there is that just complete kind of marketeer's dream that we can now sell everything and anything with the stamp of menopause on it. So I suppose and you know, you like I said, you've probably reviewed quite a few things, and my question would be, and I would love to know, is how can we spot red flags? You know, how do we kind of know? Oh, okay. Because to me, I'd be looking at it going, don't be ridiculous. But then you suddenly go, the product's sold out. Like, how did that happen? So how do we learn? How can we identify whether something is genuine, good, kind of going to be helpful or not?
Well, I think for me, the absolute red flag, and I think when I met you first, we were ranting slightly about this. Anything that purports to be everything and to cure all menopause symptoms and sounds too good to be true, almost invariably is. And that goes for an awful lot of products. There are some brilliant things out there, and there really isn't there is no kind of one size fits all. And I think with supplements, and I've written a massive amount about this, I'm unconvinced by a lot of the blends on the market. And I won't name any, but there are some that I really think promise way too much. And I also quite often on social media say, this sounds amazing, can I see your clinical studies? And again, I find them unconvincing. They haven't done studies into their own blends. They've done studies into the ingredients separately, but not how they work together. And then this, which leads me on to something that I find really, like, everyone should know about this. You can absolutely take too much. You know this. You can really overdose on supplements, and you can cause yourself quite a lot of damage. And if you're taking a multivitamin and you're taking, like 10,000 times the RDA of a mineral, and you're taking a menopause supplement, you need to cross-reference and make sure that you really aren't, things like vitamin E and vitamin A can be quite damaging. Too much of anything is really bad. And my example is actually kind of not my fault. I was prescribed calcium supplements after cancer treatment because I have bisphosphonates, which builds up your bone density. And no one said, I just kept on asking for prescriptions. I assumed I had to keep on taking calcium, and it was a high dose. I think it was too high a dose. And no one said, but you shouldn't be taking these. And I got really ill. My calcium was too high, and there was a bit of a panic and a kind of flurry. And I thought, I didn't realise this. I should have known better. Perhaps someone should have noticed, but really, why would they necessarily? It's really easy to do, and we just don't know we don't know what can happen.
No, I think I'm with you 100% on this, and you know that. I think that kind of green pharmacy is what a dear friend of mine, Juliana, who's a functional nutritionist, calls it, the green pharmacy. She said, they make a fortune on the fact that there's very little evidence for anything, yet it's meant to make you feel better, and if the next person has taken it, you should try it too, because it's readily available. But I the examples I have, and I've become increasingly a little bit firmer actually with my clients when I'm working with them about this. But a lot of the time, especially with one particular client, I mean, honestly, I looked at what she was taking and when she was taking it and things that were happening, and I just said, okay, I'm really sorry, but I'm actually getting anxiety looking at your list of supplements. Who's given them to you? She said, well, this person told me to do that, and that person told me to do this, and this person told me to do that. And I said, okay, I'm really sorry. Would you mind just stopping, other than any medication that you've been prescribed? And actually what's interesting is you said yours was prescribed, but other than any medication that you need, would you mind just stopping for a bit and just putting them all on one side, and then we can see if we need them? Because there wasn't, she just didn't realize exactly what you're saying. So she would take a multivitamin because that person was taking it, but then she would be taking vitamin D in that dose because that. Then she was taking a magnesium supplement on top of that, and then she was taking zinc, and then she'd be, and I was like, okay. And it's so easy to fall into that trap. And you're so right in what you're saying in that sometimes we don't understand. And actually, by the way, she's not gone back to taking anything that she was taking in terms of supplements. She hasn't needed it. She literally just needed to rebalance what she was eating, how she was eating, her exercise, her regime, her lifestyle, mindset, all of those basic things that are so important as well. So she kind of, it is just people don't realize the extent of damage, as you quite rightly pointed out, that these kind of supplements can have. And you're right, there isn't much research on anything.
No, and also every single day as a journalist, every day I get sent some amazing this is the new supplement, and I look at it, and some of them actually make up the names. You can tell they've just like created some marketable name. And others, you look at it and it says, it's found in these cells and it gives the mitochondria energy here and this, that, the other. And I look at it and I think, but you haven't got 20 years of data. So how can you possibly know? And again, particularly having had cancer, I'm very wary about supplements because during chemotherapy, you're told to stop taking, for example, antioxidants because they're kind of counterintuitive. You're trying to kill everything. So I scrutinise much more carefully. And I mean, the data on the whole tends to suggest that unless you have a clinical deficiency, then really vitamin D is pretty much the only one that you absolutely indubitably need. And the darker your skin is, the more you should be taking vitamin D. And I think there are arguments for things. I do take collagen supplement. I mean, I can see my hair growing more quickly and my nails. And I actually notice a difference when I take I couldn't remember the word, an omega-3 supplement. It actually helps my short-term memory, even though I eat masses of flaxseed and fish. But this is purely personal.
Yes.
And I just think that people see the newest thing, they think, I'll have energy, my metabolism will be faster, I'll get rid of my hot flushes, I'll lose the menopausal belly fat. And actually, again, the big thing that I've realised, having now I have to practice what I've preached for years, is that diet, high protein, high fibre, loads of fruit and veg, Mediterranean, blah, not too much sugar, that you feel amazing on that.
Yeah, it works. It's the basics.
I mean, it's what obviously it's your expertise.
It's what it really works. It really does work. But you are right. Again, it's something I say to people, they'll say to me, should I be taking magnesium? I'm like, should you? I don't know. Should you? Why? What is it you're trying to fix? And I think that's the key. What bit are you trying to fix? Let's see whether we can fix that in a slightly different way. Creatine is one of those at the moment. All singing and dancing. Creatine has been around for years. The most research supplement. Blah blah blah. And I have to say, I didn't take it. Wouldn't. Refused. This is my personal thing. I've started taking it. Because I wanted to see, what does it do? Is it going to do something? And also I am postmenopausal, so I was sort of feeling that, okay, I don't have periods right now. I don't have any of those cycles that are going on. So let me just try this. And it is doing something. It's my memory is better. It's working for me. But would I, some people say, but you're taking creatine. Should I take creatine? And I'm just like, no, hold on a minute. It's working for me. But the reason I'm taking it is because I train 2 or 3 times a day, or I'm running, I'm doing this, I'm running 2 or 3 days. My lifestyle, how I eat, what I do, everything is all very different. And then thinking about whether creatine is important. You're so right. It is very bespoke. It is very important to remember. I love that. If it looks too good to be true, then it is. I love that.
That is my absolute rule of thumb. But actually, just on the creatine thing, I'm aware of it. I've heard how amazing it is. I have plenty of friends taking it. I had a kidney problem a couple of years ago, and actually, creatine does not serve me well. So
No,
the other thing about vitamins is they're not regulated, but that
no.
doesn't mean that they're not going to affect your body. You want them to affect your body. Look at the contraindications. There are. This is actually something that I think should be mandatory. There are some menopause supplements that do not say on them if you've had a hormonal cancer, you shouldn't be taking them. Or you should at the very least take professional advice. I have a friend who is taking a hormonal supplement that contains phytoestrogens, which have estrogenic activity. No one's
Oh,
quite
and
sure
she's
if they're okay after hormonal breast cancer, which she had.
right. Yeah.
And I said, well, did it not say on the packet? She's like, no, it's no. She's like, no, I'm sure it's fine. I feel amazing. I went, well, great, but
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So that's something I think
100%.
there needs to be more regulation. Some of them do specify that if you've had, they just say if you've had breast cancer, don't take them,
Yeah.
but not all, and I think they
No.
should.
No, I think oh gosh, that's such a brilliant point. Yes, and again, talking in conversation, that's one of the first things. If there anything medically, again, there's an issue with thyroid and creatine as well.
Yeah.
And I've
Oh,
got a
is
client
there?
who's yeah, and as a client,
Oh,
I've got a client who's who has thyroid issues, and she has been back again, backwards and forwards to her consultant, to the GP, wherever. There's just no clear cut answer because they just don't know, and they've kind of
yeah.
left it up to her. Do if you want to take it, if you don't want to take it. Again, it's just a very there's just it's I think that's the problem, isn't there? There just isn't enough regulation. There just isn't enough research. There just isn't enough advice, and so people are making their own choices, and sometimes those aren't
Yeah.
always the right choices to make.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the other thing that I wanted to kind of just touch on, because I think we hear this a lot, and it's that thing where again it's busting those myths, right? It's that terminology. It's kind of getting a deeper and better understanding. I always hear, I don't want to go down the medical route. I want everything to be natural. And what's your take on? I know we can be here forever. What's your take on that? Because it's a tricky one because it's very emotive, right? I think that's the other
Yeah.
thing. It can be a very emotive statement. I don't want to go down the medical route.
Yeah.
I want to,
Yeah.
and initially I would be like, "What are you talking?" And I would not be sensitive in the way I was responding, which was wrong. But now I've realised and learned
Yeah.
that actually it is coming from a really emotional place. But what
Yes.
would your take be on that?
Well, okay, so forgive me for my face because actually that's incredibly rude of me. And actually, people should be able to make any decision they like. The one thing I would say is that I don't think women are being given the information so they can make informed choice. So, for example, with HRT, the current forms that are recommended to the body, identical ones, they're derived from yam or soybean extract, and they have very robust clinical data, including for their safety. So the current statistic for breast cancer is that 8 women in 10,000 will develop breast cancer associated with, not caused by, but that's associated with HRT. So that's an awful lot of women who aren't getting it. And I've had breast cancer, so I can sound flippant about this, but breast cancer detected early is very, very treatable. And the benefits of HRT are, as far as I'm concerned, myriad. And then, as we've just said, the vitamins and the supplements aren't regulated in the same way. And people aren't necessarily being told the contraindications in a clear fashion. So, and also they've been processed, and a lot of them have been processed. They're chucked in with bulkers and powders and fillers and things like that. So I think the word natural is kind of imbued with such this is the best way. You're sitting in a forest looking at the leaves, but that's not. It's a whole industry relying on you believing that natural's better.
Yeah. Oh gosh, no, totally. And for me, that's the same as saying, there's a couple of things. One is somebody saying, I'm on a sugar-free diet, or someone saying, this is healthy. They're just so broad and so, they're just so tinged with that kind, or the marketing terminology that we're just being led to believe certain things. I do agree with you that there isn't enough education around all of these topics. So we're talking a lot more about menopause, we're talking a lot more about women's health, but we're actually not getting the information about all these other things that are out there, like the supplements, to actually be able to make those informed choices. Is there something that we can do about that? Is there a change that we can bring about? Is there something that, how do we change that? How do we become more informed?
Well, Menopause Mandate, our big campaign at the moment, is called MM40 Plus. And the idea is that we've produced, obviously with medics, a sort of fact sheet about menopause and perimenopause that we're asking that it's included in the 40 plus health check that the NHS provides, and you should get a letter about it. I'm not sure everyone does, but everyone is entitled to it. So if you're 40 and you're told that your kind of increasing anxiety or your insomnia or your like feelings of anger might be because of perimenopause, doesn't mean it is, and anything should always be checked out health-wise, but the more information people have, the easier their transition is going to be. And women, if they're worried about it or they don't know what's happening, it's really, really, it can be really stressful. So that's what we're trying to persuade Wes Streeting to implement at the moment, so that women are just given a heads up about the whole thing. And then once you can explore your options. And HRT, which sadly I'm not on at the moment, but it's not the be all and end all. Again, this is you. I spoke to a doctor after I was diagnosed with breast cancer about, am I going to shrivel up and die without HRT? And she said, look, if you're looking after your stress, your diet, your exercise and your sleep, that's a lot more than a lot of women on HRT are doing, because you cannot just expect a silver bullet. There isn't anything like that. You've got to kind of put the effort in as well. But the other thing that slightly drives me around the bend is there's quite a plethora of people purporting to be experts and doing a lot on social media and giving medical advice on social media without actually having any qualification. And I don't think that's helping, to be honest. I think that's further confusing women.
Yeah,
particularly the testosterone thing. Oh, you're owed testosterone, you should have testosterone. And actually that's a very nuanced argument, and it's not good for everyone.
No, I think, and the thing, it applies both ways, where people are, you seem to have to be either a person who is for HRT or not HRT. It goes back to that, and I'm just
very
I don't
polarized.
understand that. I just literally don't. I do not understand that at all. Because again, for me, it's just so much, and exactly what you're saying. It is about being able to give women information to be able to make the choices that they want to make for themselves, because it is all, historically and even now, we don't get to make those choices. We've even got women telling us what to do now, not just men. It just seems to be, if it's not the medical professionals telling us what to do, it's the green pharmacy, pharmaceuticals telling us what to do. There's always somebody telling us what to do, and not empowering us to make our own decisions. And I think, what you're trying to do, what the menopause mandate is trying to do, and the work that you're doing, is phenomenal in actually raising the profile, as we've talked about so often here now, about women's health. We've raised it now. It's something that sits at the table. It's something that, I still don't think it's equal in any way to how men's health is talked about by any means, but
No.
or even housing sometimes. I just think we get put to the thing, but it's there. And it wasn't there before. So I think you guys have done an amazing job. Tell me, please, just kind of, because some people who are listening may not know anything about the mandate. So what you did briefly tell us about it, but we've been. I'm talking to you because we know about it, but there could be people out there, and I'm hoping they're not. I hope everybody knows about what the menopause mandate is. But if they didn't, what is it? What's it all about?
So it was set up on the most stressful WhatsApp of my entire life. It was a group sort of Zoom meeting thing with Mariella and Davina McCall and Carolyn Harris, the Labour MP, and various other people. And the idea was a kind of cohesive campaign group, and we would get together and we'd just kind of continue trying to keep menopause in the public sort of eye, and also campaign for specific things. So the prepayment certificate for HRT, which means you pay less than £20 for a year of all your HRT. We campaigned for that. It was not entirely down to us. There are so many campaign groups, but what else have we done?
The employees, employers as well.
Thank
That's
you.
yes.
Thank you. Yes, we've campaigned for workplace policy. It's great. It's actually great with menopause because you just go, brain fog, and everyone just goes, yes, it's fine.
We're here. I'm here. You'll fill my gaps in. I'll fill yours in. We're good.
But yeah, we've had various meetings in Parliament where we've sort of put pressure on for extra policy. Mariella was, I think, the first person ever to say vulva in a sort of drinks reception with Wellbeing of Women with the speaker. So
Fantastic.
it's kind of, we always have an ongoing campaign, the shortages, for example, and any news story where we're sort of on it as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, you work. It's amazing the work you have done. Like I said, there are a lot of little things that people wouldn't even know about, but those are things that started, with the mandate kind of. Yeah.
I mean, we're working with UCL at the moment. Our menopause mandate survey last year had 20,000 women filling it in. And we're working with Professor Amy Spector at UCL for our 2025 survey. And she specialises in brain fog.
Yes.
And I think 82% of the women who filled it in last year, brain fog was the main symptom.
Yeah.
And she is working to identify it and to identify ways of supporting women who have brain fog. And so that's our kind of current campaign alongside the MM40 plus. And the responses of every single woman are so valuable because it just, each voice is incredibly important because it's another person saying, well, I have brain fog, but actually I don't have hot flushes, or I have hot flushes 24 hours a day. What's going on? It's it just, I think with my feeling about all the menopause campaigning and all the amazing people I've met like you is that it's very collaborative. Everyone is, on the whole, incredibly supportive because we're all working towards one goal.
Definitely. I think it's bringing about change, and having met Carolyn on several occasions and Mariella as well. She's such an incredible personality. Absolutely, like a force to be reckoned with for sure. But she's brilliant because she, when she holds court, she gets it. She gets stuff done, which is amazing. Yeah, it is amazing. I think my kind of final question really, which is a shame because it's kind of coming to an end. The reason why, by the way, I've kept these episodes shorter, I've kind of kept them to about 30 to 40 minutes, is because of my concentration ability, which has diminished over the years. So if there's a podcast which is an hour, you've lost me by about 30 minutes. So one of the things with the podcast I wanted to do with mine was keep it short, sort of concise, sweet, so that you could just about get through it and you didn't have to concentrate for too long. But that's my contribution to kind of navigating brain fog. I suppose my final question before we kind of hear a bit more about you and the book and books, should I say? Books? It's not just one, is it?
No, but there's only really one in the UK.
Okay. But before we hear about that, what are the changes that you would like to see happen? We've talked and discussed about that a little bit. It's been kind of thrown in the conversations. But what are the changes that you would really like to see, that you think that would really benefit women's health?
I suppose it's building on what there is. So the MM40 plus, having it mentioned at the over 40 health check, would be amazing. I think it would make such a difference to millions and millions of women. And it's all part of normalising the conversation and making menopause something that we just discuss. It's now in schools. I think it's a bit of a tick box in schools, as far as I can gather from my kids. But it needs to
Right.
be mentioned alongside puberty. You know, the hormones go up, they come down again.
Absolutely.
Workplace policy, I think Labour are, I'm not sure where it's up to, looking at mandatory policy in companies over 250 employees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, that would be great. The more you have it set in kind of policy, the more it just has to be done. And it's not. And what really worries me is when women say to us, you know, stop talking about it, stop talking about menopause. It makes women look less competent. Women aren't less competent. Women do their jobs. They look after their families. They look after their parents. They're good friends. They do loads. And the only person I think really suffering when there are catastrophic menopause symptoms is us. And so there need to be the policies in place for the very few women who do need time off for menopause symptoms. It's very few, but there shouldn't be a fight, and it shouldn't be embarrassing to mention.
No, you're so right. And we are doing the good work that's required. I mean, I'm working with a couple of universities. I'm working with schools trusts. I'm seeing it a lot more. And one of the schools I work with has actually started to bring some of the slides and things that I did for my workshop into the children, for the children as well that are there. So
Brilliant.
that, I mean, honestly, it's been brilliant. So that I know from personal experience, only one school at a time, or in fact, in the case of the trust, I think there's about six or eight schools there. But you know, they're doing a lot of work, and that it really has stemmed from the work that you're doing, you know, with your publications, with your articles, and also with the mandate. So there is a ripple effect that is happening, and you know, all of you working together, you are inspiring others to continue to do that work at grassroots levels with everybody. And I know there's so many smaller organisations like myself that just will continue to do that work, you know, because we can see that it's coming from a genuine source. We can see that it's needed. But yeah, no, there will be change. There has been change, and I think it will continue.
There has already. There has.
Yeah, definitely. But thank you, Alice. I'm just going to say thank you to everybody for listening. And if you have enjoyed the podcast, I really, really have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, Alice. Thank you so much. Please, I would love you to like and share and listen, subscribe, but share with family and friends as well. And if there's any other topics that you'd like me to talk about, or any other guests you'd like to see on the podcast or hear on the podcast, do let me know and get in touch. Alice, if people want to know a little bit more about your work, please do let us know about your book, and how can people find out more about what you do. And your Instagram handle is brilliant. I love it because you make me laugh quite a lot every day. So thank you for that. But tell us where can people find you, and about your book, please.
Oh my gosh. Well, the book is obviously available on I feel awful saying Amazon, but it is available on Amazon and, you know, independent bookshops, which are far better. And I write for various newspapers. Oh, and Mariella and I have just written a show called Cracking the Menopause.
Yes, I saw that.
At a time. So we have I don't know when this is coming out, but we have a sort of first show on the 10th of September in Barnes in London.
Oh, amazing. I saw that somewhere. And I was like, I don't know where I saw it, and then I wasn't able to click on it to get anything. So I need to get the details from you for that, because I would love to come.
Come, that would be so great. So yes, and I'm on Instagram. Mostly moaning about teenagers, actually. I would say. It's either moaning
Just,
about teenagers or it's menopause. There's not really much in between.
oh, it's you do. They honestly make me laugh. It's one of those accounts where I just love it. Stories just make me. It kind of, it's those. Yeah, it's brilliant. No, thank you for your time today, and
Thank you so much.
yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
See you in October.
Yes, definitely,
See you in
definitely.
October,
And
if
in
not
September,
before.
I will come in September
And
for sure.
very much in September. Yes, I'll contact you about that. Lovely. Take care.